Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. My guest today is Saswat. He's an Indian living in Mexico. He's a visiting professor at EGADE Business School in Monterrey, Nuevo Leon, where he's calling in from today. Saswat, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Vance. And to be honest, I've been following your podcast for a long, long haul. And being a podcaster myself, I enjoy some of the episodes of your podcast as well.
Absolutely. And you are in Monterrey right now, or are you in Guadalajara?
That's correct. In Monterey, actually.
Awesome. So, in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about what it's like being or becoming a visiting professor. That's something I'm curious about. We're going to talk about what it's like being Indian in Mexico, where there's not too many Indians in Mexico. So, I'm curious about how that works. And we'll talk a little bit about entrepreneurship too. I saw, just to get a little bit of your background, I saw you were involved in Mass Challenge in Boston, which is a pretty cool organization. How did you? So I guess you spent some time in the U.S. and you've decided instead to make your home in Mexico. And I believe your girlfriend's soon-to-be wife is Mexican as well. Give me like the 60-second story about how you went. I guess from I'm sure it's been a winding path, but from Massachusetts to Mexico.
Sure, man. I mean, I come from a strategy consulting background, Vance. Did a bunch of consulting stints in London, then Middle East, and then, of course, traveled a little bit in the US as well. But I settled down in Monterey because I fell in love with a beautiful woman who is currently my fiance, and I'm getting married to her in October in Monterey, actually. And
Congrats.
yeah, 10 to thank you, and 10 to 12 plus years of consulting background. And for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been going deeper into a few of the frontier technologies like SaaS as well as Web3 or blockchain technologies, as we talk about. And that
Mhm.
led me to actually become an educator or a professor in one of the premier universities of Mexico, which is called as IGADE Business School, which is based out of Monterrey. So yeah, that's my long story short, and I've been enjoying my travels in Mexico, and I absolutely love my Latin American lifestyle, man.
That's awesome. You got me thinking, like, what is a Indian Mexican wedding going to look like? It's definitely going to be a meeting of two cultures because a Mexican wedding definitely is its own thing, and an Indian wedding. I mean, I'm Canadian, so I haven't been to an Indian wedding, but I've seen on Instagram. My buddies have been to a bunch, and it has obviously tons of traditions and stuff. So that's going to be quite. Actually, I have been to an Indian wedding. But that's going to be quite a mixing of cultures.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I amongst my friend circles, I don't have a lot of Indian friends who have married into Mexican families, but I was lucky enough to meet my current fiance Paula back in January last year, and we spent a lot of time traveling together to some parts of Tulum, Playa de Carmen, and the Quintana Roo, as well as the historic Chichen Itza. And I got introduced to her family as well. My Spanish was not so good, to be honest. I'm still learning. I'm a very
Mhm.
noob in my Spanish journey. But as you know, right, Latin American families are very inviting and very culturally similar to a lot of Indian families as well.
I
So
think so.
somehow the food, yeah, in many facets, to be honest, fans, like the family structure is very similar. They have a lot of inter family meetups and get-togethers on a very regular basis. There's a lot of festivities that happens, and the culture is very similar. I mean, like the food, the people, the way they engage, interact, and bond on friendships as well as life relationships. I found a lot of similarities, and that led me to propose her this February. And somehow her parents and her friend circle accepted me, and then I thought, why not? Why not in your 30s try to have a exciting and adventurous life in Latin America as well.
Yeah, I want to go deep on this. What are some of the similarities between Indian culture and Mexico culture that you've noticed?
Absolutely. The first one was I'm a foodie, event, so I love food. Surprisingly, on Instagram, all my posts are on food for the last few years. And when I happened to come to Mexico for the first time in 2019, I realized that food, the Indian cuisine, is very similar to the Mexican cuisine as well. I mean, I love the tacos and the obvious, posadas and the obvious, choices of Mexican cuisine as well. But the spices that we tend to have in our Indian
Mm.
food or Indian cuisine is very similar to the Mexican food as well. Um, uh, and when I got invited to some of the festivities and family events in Mexico, I realized that the chicken curry, whatever that we have in India, is very similar to the mole that they have in Mexican cuisine as well. So the food, the rice, and the beans, it was very similar, man. And of all the cuisines that I absolutely adore, somehow I realized that this is one of the cuisine that I can have for the rest of my life as well. And if your fiance happens to be a good cook and a chef, then why not? You have the luxury of having good food on a regular basis as well if you tend to keep them happy. So food is definitely one of the integral parts of the culture. The second is how you interact and engage within the family structure as well. For example, both Mexico and India are very collectivistic societies, which means that you are very much codependent around the people that you live around within your family members, as well as within your social circles. Yeah. So you are interacting with your cousins, you are interacting with your friends, you are interacting with your family members on a very regular basis. You go to their quinceanera, which is like the events they have on the 15th birthday,
Hmm.
as well as yeah, you go to their birthday parties, you go to their weddings, etc. And it's very
Yeah. Any
similar.
excuse, any excuse to bring people
Absolutely.
together.
Absolutely.
Um, could be a 2-year-old baby's birthday, and there's like 30 people there.
True.
And
I was there at her my fiance's. She became a godmother. So there was a bautisma, which is like a baptism ceremony that they had, and
yep,
they took me to the church as well. And of course, my religion is Hindu. I come from a different part of the world in the Asiatic culture, and I happened to go to the church, and then I happened to attend their party as well, and it was a blast. I mean, they party at every occasion, right? I mean, there's a lot of beers flowing in. There's a lot of carne asada, going on in every corner, and people really accept you as well. I mean, if you're really loving, kind, and friendly, then you will have a gala time in at least some of the parts of Mexico that I've been to.
yeah, definitely. So number one, food. I see it. You're more used to the spicy food than probably some Americans that come down to Mexico. So you probably had a advantage compared to
Yeah.
Americans. And then number two, kind of the closeness of the family. Uh, what else would you add to the list?
I think in terms of the way we spend our leisure time, right? Like a lot of Mexicans and a lot of Indians, in my opinion, they are very loquacious creatures. They love to talk a lot. Sometimes they do not go to the point as well in their early interactions with people around.
Sure.
So that might come as a shocker to a lot of Germans or a lot of Americans as well. But people here, both in both geographies, right, whether it is some parts of India or some parts of Mexico, they tend to first establish a very stronger relationship with the person. They tend to talk a lot, and once the relationship is established, then they talk about business, right, as opposed to talking to the point in a very business setting as well. So that was very interesting insight that I really found, that people love to talk a lot. They are not very concise and to the point at many occasions. But if you give them time and space, and you are a good listener, and you are really patient with all their activities around it, then I think you will have a very human to human good relationship that will convert into a lot of other business slash other kind of relationships as well.
Hmm. One difference maybe is Indians are good savers and Mexicans are not good savers.
That's
Have you
true.
noticed? Have you noticed that?
That's true. That's true. And I experienced that firsthand as well. I mean, when I was traveling with a lot of Mexican friends as well as with my fiance, I realized that they love to party a lot and they spend every dime of their savings, right? And they say that, okay, we will have the next paycheck that is coming from our job in the coming days, and we'll take some credit as well and have it. But Indians also spend a lot at major junctures of their of their life journey, but we tend to save for a rainy day as well. So yeah, in my personal experience, I've been learning the new ways of managing pesos and all the currencies along with my new Mexican family.
That's cool. And I got to ask, because obviously you could pass as Mexican physically. So you must have some incredible anecdotes of people coming up to you and speaking Spanish really fast. And you're like, no, 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 soy indio. And then they're like, what? And you're like, that kind of thing.
Yeah, dude, I'm in Vance. The funny part is there are some parts of Mexico City as well where Cuauhtémoc, I was with few of my expat friends, and some of them directly spoke to me in Spanish, assuming that I'm a localite over there as well.
Uh
And
huh.
because I had a little bit of beard back then, so they might have assumed that I belong to some part of Mexico as well. So yes, you are right. And in Mexico, sometimes if you're a brown-skinned gentleman, then preferably you might be called as a moreno as well, which is
Uh
very
huh.
common in Mexico, right?
Yep.
So as opposed to a Caucasian, American, or a gringo, you might pass on as a localite and might have a good time spending, cervezas or vino at the local bar. That's a possibility for sure.
Right. Like if you roll up with a couple American buddies, like white dudes or something, to a
Yeah,
bar, maybe
yeah.
the waitress goes to talk to you first because they think you'll be like the translator. And then you're like, no, 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 I'm not the translator here.
Mexico is very diverse, is something that I've realized. Like people usually go to the touristic locations of Mexico City. Usually they will, flock around, let's say, Roma Norte, Polanco, or Condesa. And usually, if you go to the coastal belt in Quintana Roo and the Cancun, the Playa del Carmen, those are very,
Hmm.
very touristy places. But you are
Hmm.
but if you actually touch upon other places like Saltillo, like Santiago, which are some of the smaller, nicer towns and
Sure.
cities, very
Saltillo
close.
is near Monterrey.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
And you will have a very different experience in the bars and the clubs, actually. So it might not be the same tourist historic that you might be hearing from Cancun, Tulum, or Playa del Carmen. And so it's very important to understand that every part of Mexico, every city is very, very characteristic in its own way. And if you live in that particular city for a few weeks and few months, that's when you get to know how the locals react to you as a person, as well as react to your responses at times as well.
Hmm. And Mexicans are very open and welcoming, but they also are a little bit xenophobic towards basically anyone, whether it's Americans or Indians or even Guatemalans or something. Have you experienced xenophobia as well?
To be honest, dude, I haven't experienced that firsthand, right? To be honest, the way I used to travel through Mexico is that I used to always cling on to a friend or to a contact or to a person that I've already known from before, or it was my fiance. So all my travels were a little bit in a very safety net as well. So either I had some previous connections, or a friend's friends, or a friend's friend's friend who would recommend to a particular place. So I was always traveling in a little bit of close net group of folks. And over there we had a myriad, kind of conversations, starting from, how do I say, it's about life, about worldview, about opinions on religion, opinions around politics, opinions around the history per se. But somehow, a lot of Mexicans have been very kind and pleasant to me in my interactions and touch points, especially.
That's good. I like to hear that. And are they surprised to hear that you're Indian? Because there's not too many.
Yeah, dude. I mean, there aren't a lot of Indians actually, to be honest. I have met a few of them in like Querétaro. I was taking my educational classes. As a visiting professor, I used to go to a few locations of the university as well. So I
Mhm.
used to spend some time in Querétaro, but Querétaro this year, especially in 2024, has seen a Hindu temple as well, and there's a little bit
No
of
way.
yeah,
In
yeah. It's
Querétaro, there's a Hindu temple?
yeah, this time in 2024 is the first time there was a small temple that was inaugurated.
They
So
just not okay. They just put it
yes,
up. Okay.
yes.
Damn.
And Querétaro is a beautiful city. Surprisingly, I loved Querétaro as well. And I've met few of the Indians in Tulum and in some local shops in and around Playa del Carmen. My fiance liked one of the Indian restaurant that is famous in Playa del Carmen. I think it's called as Aryan. The samosas are really good, I must say that. So yeah, I mean, you will not find as many as Indians you'll find in Canada or US on the in the North American geography. But there are a few of the Indians, and preferably they are working in multiple sectors as well. But I just happened to go there in 2019 for as a tourist for a few weeks, and during the pandemic, I was in Asia. Last year, I spent a little bit of time in Vietnam, Taipei, and this year, when I happened to go to Mexico, I was thinking from a long-term perspective of having a long-term family life with my fiance as well. So yeah, it has been a very interesting journey for me.
And what's it like having a mixed cultural relationship where you were born in India, you have a certain set of expectations. She was born in Mexico, she has a certain set of expectations, and obviously a different religion as well. How's that kind of adaptation been, and the dynamic?
Man, I mean, I'm just curious, Vince. I mean, like whenever two people come into a relationship, right? They tend to share a lot about each other's lives, and they also learn from each other's life, right?
Mhm.
Besides the language, the culture, the religion, the geographies that are different from me and my fiance. But there were a lot of similarities as well. So in the initial months of our dating, we realized that let's connect more on the similarities, like our love for food, our love for friends and family, and our love for having some alone time. Our love for travel. So we connected on the commonalities per se, and then we got to know about each other per se. And thereafter, when we were thinking about the future of our relationship, which was this year, we realized that we need to discuss some interesting aspects of in Indian Mexican or Indian Latino family as well. Initially, if you know that people who live in Monterey, they take a lot of pride in themselves. They are called as Rekios and Rekias as well, right? So my fiance is a sportswoman. She plays a lot of baseball. She loves to travel a lot. And
Mhm.
I, in my part of the world, we play a different game altogether. As you know, that India recently won the
Cricket.
World Cup. Yeah, exactly, the Cricket World Cup in the US. And so we used to have fun in discussing about the similarities between cricket and baseball as well. And then we thought, okay, we have many similarities. I mean, cricket, baseball, or sports are one of it. Food could be one of it, but intrinsically, the culture and the values of the family that we are planning to set up. So
Mhm.
we realized that we should always be respecting of each other's religion and culture. We should be respecting of each other's family members. I added a lot of her family members on multiple. Mexico and India, they're very Facebook heavy as well. So I started interacting with her family members as well. Then she started interacting with my family members, and both our friend circles started engaging with each other. And we realized that, okay, food is sorted, the basic infra is sorted, the future worldview as to, what do you want to do for the next 5 to 10 years. We have had like on and off similar kind of discussions, and we thought, yeah, let's lead an interesting life. I mean, what's life if it's not an adventure? And I think marriage in everyone's life is definitely an exciting adventure, and especially if it is intracultural, then there are some challenges, but there are some very interesting angles as well.
And I assume no kids yet.
No, we are getting married this October. So yeah, we are two single folks who are getting hinged for the first time this October.
Good, good. So congratulations again.
Thanks, man.
Marriage in October and then baby time shortly after, hopefully. Have you talked about what you're going to do from a language perspective? Like you're going to teach the baby English and Hindi, and maybe you speak like a regional language as well, and then your wife will teach the baby Spanish.
I think Vance, English and Spanish is for sure on the table because English is the international business language. Everyone speaks it. A lot of Indians speak English fluently as well. So English and Spanish, and a little bit of Hindi and my regional language as well. How, I, I'm also getting multiple thoughts. Maybe it could be a trilingual.
Mhm.
Trilingual is good enough. Four languages too much for a baby, in my opinion. Yeah,
What's
that's
your
that's.
what regional languages do you speak?
Dude, I speak a language called as Odia, and that is on the eastern part of India. And
Wow, I haven't heard of that one.
yeah, so the word Jagannath has come from a word called as Jagannath. That
Okay.
is where the Lord Jagannath, or the deity of my region, is very famous for. So I come from that particular state, which is on the eastern part of India, and my parents speak a very distinct language, and yeah, uh, it's very interesting that I
What's in the
speak
east?
Oriya.
Chennai? Is it near Chennai?
Chennai is down south. It's in the southern
Okay.
part of India, and I my home base is in Bangalore, which is in
Bangalore.
Karnataka. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, so the interesting part is, after our Mexican wedding, after a couple of 2 months of the Mexican wedding, I'm inviting her entire family from Monterrey in Mexico, and a few of her family members from Texas, Austin, and Houston as well. They will all be flying down to Bangalore, my home base, and we'll be having a small reception ceremony, or maybe an Indian side of wedding as well, like a Hindu wedding. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a long flight.
Lots of a lot of faith, and I'm also learning a lot of things, man. Something that I've realized, that when your spouse is from a different part of the world entirely, from a different culture, different upbringing, etc., you tend to learn a lot from that other person, right? I mean, when you are marrying a very mature person, that person has actually learned a lot of things in their life as well, which are very different from you. And sometimes when you are mature enough, honest enough, and kind enough with the other person, then you tend to learn a lot in that particular process as well. The other day, my fiance was telling me about concepts that even I did not know about. I mean, I'm well traveled and well read as well. I think I read a lot. Spoke to me about a concept called as vitamin person. Vitamin people. So I said, I've never heard of this terminology called as vitamin people.
Vitamin?
Vitamin people, yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, what is vitamin people? So she said that it's very she read a Spanish novel, which is prevalent in Mexico, and which spoke about people who are giving you nourishment in the conversations or in the connections as well. A lot
Mm,
of people, they are born into different situations, or they live in different parts of the world, but they don't have the vitamin people for their entire life. People who inspire them, people who give a lot of positivity to them. Those
sure. Like
people
some
could be
people give
strangers,
energy, some people take energy type of thing.
extract energies. Yes. And she
Mm,
said that if you meet new people, then if some of them happen to be your vitamin people, then you have a much more nicer aura. So I said, okay, that's a new concept. And then, as all typical learned folks do, they tend to do a quick Google search, and I realized that there is an entire novel around it, and there was a lot of other concepts as well. So yeah, I'm just learning a few interesting aspects here and there, and giggling and having fun and joking about a lot of things, and enjoying this part of my life, I must say.
Cool. No, I like it. I'll try not to grill you too hard because I know your wife might go watch this episode and she'll be like, "What did he say about me?" type of thing. So we'll try not to get you in trouble. But me too.
Yeah.
I've been learning a lot, even still, about Mexico. I'm like, I don't know, 6 years coming and going from Mexico, and I'm still learning so much. Like, there's so much regional variation and so much depth to the culture. It's insane. Like, I know that there's so much about Mexico I still don't know. So I guess that's one cool thing about it is it's like plug and play. Like you can show up and the Wi-Fi works
Yeah.
and things kind of work. But you can just like keep going deeper and deeper. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, Vance. And to be honest, I really like your podcast, brother. When I happened to see some of the tweets, right, around Guadalajara, I remember I even messaged.
Hey guys, quick break from the podcast to tell you about job stacking. If you're a remote or hybrid worker looking to maximize your earning potential, then Rolf Haltza, author of Job Stacking, guarantees you'll be able to double your income by implementing his paycheck multiplication layering method. This is the exact system Rolf has used to take his own income and those of many others beyond 20K a month. With this method, Rolf contractually guarantees that you'll be able to double your income in 45 days. So, if you're interested in unleashing your earning potential and doubling your income, then click the link in the description and book a call with Rolf right now. Hey guys, quick break from the episode to tell you about BitRefill. BitRefill allows you to shop online and in person without banks, converting your crypto directly into merchant balance. We're talking gift cards to Nike, Amazon, Apple, Airbnb, Hotels.com, and many more, all paid for with crypto. BitRefill offers more than 10,000 gift card options in 180 countries all across Latin America, including Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, El Salvador, and many more. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information.
You, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm heading to Guadalajara because I really loved some of the snippets that you actually shared, and I had a great time going to the places in and around Guadalajara as well. Went for a tequila tour, and
Nice.
went as a foodie. I was trying to search for some of the amazing restaurants of Guadalajara. Went to a place called is La Docena, which is like also in Mexico City, and is a must recommended for oysters. Is was some of the best oysters that I could actually have in my short trip in Guadalajara. That was that particular place, and a couple of friends of mine also. I happened to meet them, and it's a lovely city. It's a lovely weather and a lot of old charm that you can see on the streets as well. Uh, yes, I had a good time, and definitely I would give that to your Twitter handle where a lot of interesting facets of Latin American or Mexican, life I was able to see. Yes.
Yeah, cool. We try to keep it educational. So tell me this, Guadalajara versus Mexico City versus Monterrey. What do you think's the
Yes.
most livable city?
Ooh. Okay, one commonality of the three location is that my university, which is a very old university from Mexico, 1947 founded. It's called as Tec de Monterrey. So the business school, IGADE Business School, is part of the Tec de
Oh, it got
Monterrey.
this part of Tec de Monterrey. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay, for
Yeah.
reference for the audience, Tec de Monterrey is the most prestigious university in the whole country.
Yes. So Tec de Monterrey is there in three of these locations. Mexico City is in the Santa Fe area where I happen to go
Mhm.
and meet a lot of my professors over there. And Monterrey is where my home base is. And Guadalajara also, they have a small, they have a big
Campus.
campus over there. So I love Mexico City in multiple areas. But if you are living in the central part of it, like Roma Norte, Condesa, Polanco, you should have a little bit of higher dollars in your pockets to spend and live that particular lifestyle, because yeah, the clubs and pubs around Condesa and Polanco are super cool, and it's lovely, I must say that. But it's there's a lot of traffic in Mexico City. There's a lot of
It's
in
noisy.
my humble opinion, it's noisy. It's a little bit of pollution as well. You if you stay
Oh, the
there for a
pollution's
long
insane, bro. It's
time.
insane.
Yes, yes. Your nose.
Yep.
You have some issues as well, right? Some breathing issues at times if you spend for like 7 8 days over there. Depends on what time of the year you happen to go there. So that's there, and it's a huge city. I think it's like 25 million plus people live in Mexico City. So you might be lost at times, but as an expat, you will have a lot plethora of opportunities to interact and engage on multiple layers. But Guadalajara, I really loved it. Sometimes my fiance gets angry because he's from Monterrey. He loves Monterrey. He doesn't want to live in any other part besides Monterrey. So I liked Guadalajara. I like the weather of Guadalajara. I
Mhm.
like the city, the central area of Guadalajara as well, where you can actually, it's very high tech. There's a lot of tech companies in and around that area. There's a lot of activities,
Mhm.
new age innovations happening around that area. The restaurants are like top class. The food is so great in Guadalajara. I absolutely love the food over there, and people are very different. Guadalajara folks are very different from Mexico City and Monterrey. Now, Monterrey is a very how do I say, a very hardworking, a group of a lot of hardworking folks have built Monterrey, right? So it's very on the spectrum of capitalism. It's on leaning towards the other end, right? It's more capitalistic. There's a lot of businesses in Monterrey.
Yep.
People respect the time a little bit. As opposed to the typical Mexicano time, Monterrey time is a little bit bang on. Like people are more punctual, and population, I
Good.
think, is like 6 million odd people. So my university is at the center of Monterrey, which is called San Pedro de Garcia. So that is like the poshest place of Latin America, and
Mhm.
obviously, everything is top class over there. But Monterrey has a lot of culture as well. If you go to if you go for a typical street food tour in Monterrey, Guadalajara, as well as in Mexico City, you will see the differences, right? So Monterrey, I like the cost of living. It depends on which part of Monterrey you live in as well, but it's
For sure.
very affordable. Ciudad de Mexico might be very costly for expats and
You,
folks
you think
who
Mexico
are.
City is more expensive than Monterrey?
Oh, yes, absolutely. In terms of living standards, I think Mexico City is very costly. In Monterrey, if you are not living in and around San Pedro de Garza, which is like the center of Monterrey, then
Hmm.
it's very much affordable. On the outskirts
Hmm.
outskirts of Monterrey, it is very much affordable. Yes.
Yeah, fair enough. And then probably of the three, Guadalajara is the lowest cost of living.
I haven't lived for many days in Guadalajara. I was more of a tourist over there, but met some real estate friends over there, and they have been telling me that yes, Guadalajara is conservative of the three, and in terms of Delta, like the growth prospects, Guadalajara has a lot of upcoming projects where a lot of people can see a higher Delta. So Delta is the return on investments that you can make by
Hmm.
just a typical real estate investment. So that's what I've been told. But the vibe wise, Guadalajara has a good, very old charm, or old city vibe,
Yeah, it's a
which is.
little older than Monterey, I guess.
Yes, I hope so. I think so. And but the vibe is very different, especially if you go on a Saturday night to any of the pub lanes of Guadalajara, Monterrey, and Mexico City, you will see the classic difference. In a area like Polanco or Condesa, there's a lot of noise, a lot of posh crowd coming in, a lot of expats. In Guadalajara, you'll find a mix of people as well. You'll find localites also, mixing up as well. Monterey is also very different from both of them. So there are some nuances, and to be honest, I'm trying to learn those nuances as well, and trying to assimilate more into the Latin American lifestyle in this part
Hmm.
of the. Yes.
That's awesome. And I'm just curious, have you tried to like cross the border into Texas? Have you ever like driven to Austin or Houston, anything like that?
Yes, yes. Me and my fiance, we just did a trip to Austin. Her relatives live in Austin, and we went to the border city of Laredo, which is at the center of there's a Laredo, Texas, and there's a Laredo, Mexico. So you just cross the
Yep.
border. Sometimes the border crossing takes like 30 minutes to 45 minutes as well. But after that, you just take a direct road to San Antonio, and from San Antonio you go to Austin. So I spent a couple of days in Austin. I took my fiance to the first Hindu temple in Austin as well. There are a bunch of temples in areas like Houghton in Austin. So there's beautiful temple actually. I took her, and we went for a bunch of shopping experiences in and around, and then again we came back, drove back from Austin to Mexico, to Monterrey actually. So
Mhm.
yes, I think in and all the route is, in my guess estimate, it would be like 7-ish hours, 6.5 hours to 7 hours, depending
Mhm.
on how you are actually, going at what time.
And was it smooth or kind of a weird experience crossing the border there and back?
No, dude, it was very smooth to be honest. Yeah, it was no long checks, and while going there is like 10-minute delay because of the passport checks and all those things. But while coming back from San Antonio or Austin to Monterey, there is no check. You can just drive through directly. Yes, that was the
Yeah,
case.
that's wild. So I
Yeah.
got to ask how this visiting professor opportunity came about. I would like to be a visiting professor at a Mexican university one day. I still spend a lot of time in Mexico. Maybe I haven't sent enough emails, I think, and volunteered. But how did
Sure.
that come about for you?
I think, to be honest, I was lucky enough to go to this university in 2019, where I happened to give a guest lecture around entrepreneurship and venture capital. And I was in touch with a few of the university professors from those times. And right after the pandemic, when I had the opportunity in 2023 to go over there, then they invited me to take some curriculums for two courses. Actually, it is called as MBM and MBA curriculum. So
Mhm.
MBA courses is for people who have 10 to 15 years of experience, who are well settled in industries and good companies. They come for a curriculum for like 12 months. It's just a 1 year curriculum. But the
Uh-huh.
MBM curriculum is for students who are very young students of like 21 to 26 years age group. And it's like a 2 year program. Yeah. So,
Cool.
I was taking one course for MBM students around business model innovation and new
When you
technology.
say taking, you were teaching it or you
I was
were
teaching.
taking
I was
it?
teaching. I was
Teaching
teaching.
it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was teaching this course of MBM course for these students, and the MBA course in Querétaro, as well as MBA course in Monterrey. So it so happened that for the last 4 years, I've been researching very deep into the blockchain and Web3 as well as frontier technologies. So whenever you talk about any accelerator right now in the world, and whether it is Mass Challenge in Boston, I was a Mass Challenge Boston alumnus in 2018, actually. That's where I was an alumnus myself. I understood the
Mhm.
venture world when we tried to raise some money from the investors in the greater Boston ecosystem. And
Mhm.
I brought those learnings from Mass Challenge Boston and Israel, as well as On Deck. Beyond Deck is like on the Silicon Valley side of it, where it's a close knit community of entrepreneurs, investors, and top class creators as well. So I brought all those learnings and packaged into a curriculum or course around venture capital, entrepreneurship, and new business model innovations. So
Mhm.
I have been researching in the DAO or the Web3 space for the last 4 or 5 years. DAOs is a very new concept in blockchain ecosystem. It's called as decentralized autonomous organizations, and
Mhm.
I have been earning, I have been coaching, I have been mentoring in the space for a long haul. So when the opportunity came to actually introduce these new technologies to my students at this particular university, some of the professors said that would be a very interesting curriculum to actually upgrade a lot of students onto, right? So that's how I got this gig, and I got deeper into it.
So you put together this course, right? And you made your curriculum and outline. You did that before getting the offer or after getting the offer to teach it?
Before getting the offer,
Okay.
actually. Yes. So I had a rough plan that this is what I want to teach. Like usually, when you are trying to teach something, then you need to have a little bit of expertise or must you need to know certain subjects at depth as well. So strategy consulting for 10 plus years, it gave me a little bit of background as to what MBA students would eventually get into, right? Whether I've done some consulting gigs with companies like Wipro Consulting, Accenture Strategy, Deloitte, been a Bain advisor as well. So I know that industry needs certain set of skill set from the academia or from the students who are graduating from these universities as well. So that was like layer one. Layer two is what are the top notch skills that students should be adapting in the coming years as well. And those skills are like skills like AI, software as a service, SaaS, blockchain, and frontier technologies, right? When you are able to combine all these new age technologies, you can actually adapt these technologies into business models and use that or replicate that in multiple industries and companies per se. And the current students of any country, they need this per se. So it's just so happened that I was there in this particular industry for a longer duration of time. So I had my internal connections, and I knew what where this industry was shaping towards. Like the fun fact is, Vance, El Salvador is the only country in the world that has Bitcoin as a legal tender. So
Hmm.
there is a little bit of trickle point influence of Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies in that part of the world as well. Argentina might be adopting these things in the coming months. The other countries in and around, whether it is Guatemala, whether it is Brazil, you will see a lot of blockchain and decentralized finance activities happening in multiple areas. So this is something that new age students really absolutely need at this point in time, and
Hmm.
somehow this resonates with me a lot in terms of my personal vibes, as well as the areas that interest me. And I said, what better way it could be to shape a curriculum around this and actually share it in a MBA setup.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, we've done a couple podcasts about kind of crypto in Latin America. There was the Mi Primer Bitcoin guys, my first Bitcoin guys that
Yes.
started in El Salvador, and then they came to Mexico, and they've introduced some Bitcoin classes into some of the university curriculums. So we
Yep.
had Andrew Howard on the podcast. We also had what's his name, Garza, Antonio Garza. I gotta. So we've done a couple of them. Maybe I can introduce you to some guys if you don't know them. But yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I'm just curious, nitty gritty. So you had your curriculum, right? You had this course that you wanted to teach. Were you in Mexico and you like struck this deal in person, or you sent an email and you maybe sent them a PowerPoint, or how did and who actually said yes? And I guess, and then you show up the first day and you're like, hey, I'm the new professor, and then they're like, here's your desk, or give me some nitty gritty details about how that went.
Absolutely, man. And so it so happened is that academia runs on relationships. Actually, any university in the world, you need to have a lot of relationships and a long-term kind of relationship going on with the professors, with the students of that particular university. So it so happened that 2019, it was my first touch point with the universities where I interacted with one of the professors in the marketing department, and I got introduced to her by a old colleague and a friend of mine. So from 2019 onwards, I had some relationship going on with that particular university. So when
Mm.
the right time came in, right after the pandemic, that I had that sweet opportunity to present this thing as a proposal so that I could be part of their beautiful university and engage with the students on a longer duration of time as well. And once you teach with them, then you get actually a lot of feedback from academia as to what the university is actually expecting out of you in the coming months, like
Hmm.
where the university is going towards. Like as you rightly mentioned, right, Tec de Monterrey is one of the best universities of that region, and Tec de
In
Monterrey is
all of
very.
Mexico and really all of
Yes,
Latin America.
absolutely. And Tec de Monterrey has a very entrepreneurial mindset as well, which means that anything to do with entrepreneurship, venture capital, and new technologies, Tec de Monterrey and the group of university and institutes, they are much more accepting about it. I mean, the fun fact is, the university degrees of Tec de Monterrey, they are on Ethereum blockchain,
Oh
and
yeah.
this, yes, which is a very, I mean, some of the top universities of the US or Canada, they don't have their universities degrees minted on blockchain yet. But Tec de Monterrey incorporated that in way back in 2019, 20, which
Wow.
is like they are way ahead of the curve as well in terms of adopting some of the new age technologies per se. So I thought, this is a forward looking university, and this is a university that is very pro entrepreneurship and venture capital. And eventually, I have my own podcast going on. I have my own Web3 blockchain. I'm part of the current Forbes Web3 ecosystem as well. So is there a way where I can combine all these dots, bits and bobs, and take it further? And yes, the sweetening was my fiance. I happened to meet her. I said, yes, bang on, this is the time that I should go all in into Latin America and be assimilated into the social circles as well.
Do you want to shout out the podcast?
Sure. My podcast name is called as the Web3 Ocean Podcast. It is being supported by Bright Moments DAO, Cabin DAO, a little bit of Forbes Web3, and Graph Protocol as well. And I'm trying to host investors and venture and entrepreneurs, primarily in the Web3 or blockchain ecosystem, who are bringing new ideas or new projects or protocols to the ecosystem. And I also have a SaaS podcast. It's called as the SaaS It Up podcast. And that was my
Sass it
first
out.
SaaS It Up.
Sass it up. Okay.
Yeah, podcast. And that was my first podcast to enter the podcasting world. It was a pandemic year, 2020, and I was listening a lot of podcasts, and I just so happened to think that, is there a way I can even start a podcast? And I absolutely loved it, man. Podcasting is a experience in itself. If you start a podcast, you learn a lot of things by yourself. The first thing for any podcaster is to actually listen to a lot of podcasts. Like I listen to your podcast as well, Vance, and that's when you learn a lot of other interesting, nuances of life about other subjects, etc. And then you even make friends in the podcasting world. Is like talking to you is the exact example, right?
For
I
sure.
When you meet another podcaster, you know that how podcasting is sometimes a very lonely journey as well, Vance. Sometimes you do the editing,
Mm.
sometimes you do the work all by yourself. You might have a backend team as well to support you, but the host does a lot of heavy lifting. And sometimes you want to interact and engage with other friends that you tend to make in this podcasting journey. And once you have spoken for a good 1 hour, you will never forget that moment. That
Yeah, man,
relation.
we're in touch for life now.
Yeah, we are touching life because it's like a digital. It's like a digital garden, right? I mean, if a tree is planted, it stays for a longer haul. So it's a beautiful experience to be to live this podcasting life as well. So yeah, long story short, I really love this particular thing, and hopefully I will be in touch with you as well, Vance. And you never know, you might come next time to
To
Monterey,
Monterey? Yeah, yeah.
and I'll host you, and I'll take you for out for a beer as well.
I'm down. I'm
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
Cool. Well, let's get to wrapping up. We only got like 2, 3 minutes here, actually. What's funny, man, is because you're like a SaaS expert, but your name is Saswat or Sashwat. And so maybe your podcast should be called SaaS on SaaS. Have you ever thought of that?
Dude, the name SaaS is like because my name is Saswat, so that's why I thought I'll have a podcast around SaaS, and I will take a fun element from the name and put it as SaaS it up and do something around it. So yeah, I love the space as well, Vance. So SaaS is definitely something that everyone uses. This particular platform that we are recording on, Zencaster, is like a
Yeah,
SaaS platform as well.
yeah. I pay like $500 a year for it or something.
Yeah. You should ask them for a lot of discounts as well, because a lot of SaaS companies give benefits to users if they are driving back value to the ecosystem per se. Once upon a time, I actually knew the Zencaster guys as well. So yeah, SaaS and Web3 and education, these are the three, four elements that I'm currently playing with, and I hope to play along as well.
Amazing. So, by the way, you probably know, hold on for like 30 seconds after we say bye so the audio uploads. But Saswat, why don't you take this time to again kind of give any final message to the audience? Let them know where they can find you. Obviously, links to your Twitter and everything will be in the show notes. But yeah, just any final message you want to share.
First of all, I would like to say, Vance, thank you for giving this opportunity to have a very candid conversation with you and share some nuggets of information around Latin America. I'm learning a lot from your podcast as well. A big shout out to your podcast. That's the first off, and making a good digital friend with you. And I'm available on Twitter at Arbalest Partner. It's I'll spell it out for you guys. It's at ARBALESTPARTNER. It's Arbalest Partner. And if you are on the blockchain or in the Web3 ecosystem, then you'll find me on the Web3 socials. On Farcaster, I'm known by SaaS, SAAS. And if you are on Lens Protocol, then you can find me on sashwat.lens.
Amazing. So this has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Again, my guest today, Saswat, visiting professor at EGADE Business School in Monterrey. Thank you to the audience for listening. Thank you to Saswat for being here. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, maybe it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, X, YouTube, be sure to subscribe, rate the podcast, leave a comment. We drop 2 episodes a week consistently. You won't want to miss any episodes with our amazing guests. So please subscribe and we'll catch you soon. Ciao for now.
Ciao.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by BitRefill. BitRefill is the best way to spend your crypto in Latin America. Purchase gift cards or mobile refills from more than 3,500 brands in 186 countries instantly, safely, and privately. Visit bitrefill.com for more information. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Job Stacking. Introducing Rolf Haltza's Paycheck Multiplication Layering Method, a revolutionary approach that redefines the traditional career path. This is Rolf's new Done With You program, where he'll work with you to implement job stacking for yourself. With this method, Rolf contractually guarantees that you'll be able to double your income in 45 days. So, are you ready to step out of the shadows of job insecurity and step into a world of career abundance? Then just click the link in the description of this episode, book a call with Rolf, and start walking the path of unleashing your earning potential with job stacking.